iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
All right, folks, today is Friday, June 24th, 2022. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network, a special edition. We were supposed to be off today, but major decision comes down. The United States Supreme Court, in a 5-4 vote, overturns 50 years of precedent. Roe v. Wade is no more. We will break this down with an expert panel of guests. Our panel is here as well. Already, Republican attorney generals are moving to affirm the Supreme Court's decision. So as of right now, abortion is illegal in 6 states in this country. Again, we'll break it all down. What does it mean for African Americans? And we'll talk about the politics of this. What happens moving forward? Justice Clarence Thomas says the court should be looking at same-sex marriage, same-sex relationships, and contraception, among other significant decisions. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, protests are literally happening all across America as we speak as a result of today's Supreme Court decision, a 5-4 vote outlawing Roe v. Wade in America, meaning a woman does not have a constitutional right to abortion. The Supreme Court, of course, ruled this in 1973. It has been the law of the land. Numerous Supreme Court justices appear before the U.S. Senate at the confirmations hearing and talked about stare decisis, saying that look, the law is the law. It is precedent, but it is abundantly clear that it's not the case. It was a 5-4 decision. Chief Justice John Roberts, of course, did not side with those of the majority. He did say he would have ruled in favor of the Mississippi abortion case. That was the bill. That was the case that came before the court that established this ruling. But he said he would not overturn Roe v. Wade. The other 5 Supreme Court justices, Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, they disagreed with him. It is a 5-4 vote. Of course, many of us knew this was coming down when the draft opinion of Justice Samuel Alito was leaked several weeks ago. Also, conservatives were very clear. This is what they had been planning to do and working towards for the last 40 plus years. So it should be no shock to anybody what happened, but it is still a shock that Roe v. Wade is no more in the United States of America. Let's go to our panel. Let's break this thing down. We got lots of folks on today's show. Representative Nikema Williams joins us. She, of course, Congresswoman from Georgia. We have Pilar Whitaker, Counsel, Economic Justice Project at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. The Lawyers Committee brief was cited twice in the dissent. And Pilar worked on that particular brief. Also, Melanie Campbell, she's president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, also convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Ianthe Metzger is director of state media campaigns for Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Kelly Bethea, communication strategist, joins us. Will be later joined by Tanya Washington Hicks, professor at Georgia State University College of Law, and also Renita Shannon, who's a state representative in Georgia. Plus, we have our panel, Shireen Mitchell, social media analyst, diversity strategist, Dr. Larry J. Walker, assistant professor, University of Central Florida, Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show, Reese Cobra, founder of Black Women Views. And so we're going to be covering this from all different angles. First and foremost, let me start with you, Congresswoman Williams. You have a lot of progressives were sitting here thinking that, hey, here's the deal. Democrats had the votes. They had the power. They could have actually codified Roe v. Wade, making it law, but they didn't. They left it up to the Supreme Court thinking, hey, precedent is precedent. The conservatives on the Supreme Court made clear today They can change whatever they want because they hold the power. The 9 most powerful people in America, 5 of them showed it today.
So, Roland, first of all, thank you for covering this issue. As you can see, I'm not in the best place for this interview or this conversation, but it's
all good
and so important that I was going to call in from wherever I was. I just left a group of people that have rallied at Union Station in D.C. I was at the Supreme Court earlier today with other members of Congress because this is a critical issue right now. And I think people are just realizing how critical it is. And all of the things that we said could happen are happening right now. And so what we do know is that the House of Representatives has passed the Women's Health Protection Act, and it sits in the Senate. So there is a vehicle, there is policy that could codify Roe v. Wade this week if we had the political will of the United States Senate to get it done. We know that we don't have the 60 votes in the Senate to get this passed. And so what that tells me is that we're going back to the ballot box in November, and we're going to make sure that we get people that not only support our right to bodily autonomy and make personal private medical decisions, but this is also linked to voting rights. If we can't have free and fair access to the ballot, it impedes my right to reproductive freedom and reproductive justice. So this is all linked. And so I don't want anybody to think that this doesn't apply to them, because today they're coming for abortion rights. They already came for voting rights, but tomorrow they're coming for your rights too. So we're all in this together, Roland.
It is interesting. I saw tweets and posts from Senator Susan Collins, Senator Joe Manchin saying that they were misled. I'm sorry. We all knew that these conservative justices were not going to support Roe v. Wade. And so I'm like, come on, y'all. Really? Seriously?
They knew. And someone asked me a few weeks ago, like, what do I say about when these people applying to be justices to the Supreme Court sit in Senate Judiciary and they say things that, don't follow up with what I'm like, let's just call it what it is. They lied. They sat there in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee and they lied about where they were on Roe v. Wade. But advocates tried to tell them. People on the ground told the senators where people stood on Roe v. Wade, and they didn't want to listen to us. They wanted to live in this fantasy land that everybody is telling them the truth that comes before them on that Judiciary Committee. And now we see what we've gotten. But you know what? We have the opportunity. The last say does not lie with the Supreme Court. It doesn't lie with the United States Senate. It lies with the people on the ground, the voters on the ground. And so this morning I woke up, I was upset, I was pissed. But Roland, now I'm motivated. I'm motivated to keep organizing, to keep marching, and I'm motivated to make sure that we get people elected to office that are going to stand up for my rights.
I know you got to catch a flight. I got to ask you this question here. I saw all these people outside of the Supreme Court. They were joined by members of Congress. And this is what I said. Let me be real clear. There were a lot of white people who were out there. There were a lot of white women. And I got to go ahead and say it. I said this. When black people were out in front of that Supreme Court, for the People Act, for the John Lewis Act, a lot of those white folks were not out there. And I kept saying, hey, where y'all at? George Floyd Justice Act. Black folks were protesting, getting arrested in the Senate. And I kept saying, hey, white women, hey, white progressives, where y'all at? And this is a perfect example. Black people, we don't leave the battlefield. We haven't left the battlefield. We can't afford to leave the battlefield. And I think now these white Democrats and white progressives are now realizing y'all can't go home and think everything is all well. Black folks been trying to tell y'all. That's why we use the hashtag, we tried to tell you.
Roland, you are exactly right. We are all in this together, and we've been saying that all along. We stand on the front lines for everybody in the movement, and we get the intersectionality of our movement. It's time for everyone else to realize that all of our fights are interconnected.
All right, Congresswoman Nikema Williams, I know you got to catch a flight. We surely appreciate you taking some time to join us right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you, Roland.
I'm going to bring in the other members of my panel here. Pilar, I want to start with you. You were, first of all, you participated in one of these briefs, writing it, and walk us through what this court decided today. What are the real life implications? I already said that you have attorney generals who I think the language is they certify, if you will, the Supreme Court's ruling, and already it's happened in Arkansas. I'm going to show a tweet a little bit later where you've got abortion clinics in West Virginia and other places. They've been canceling appointments. And so in several states right now, this ruling is in effect as we speak.
I want to highlight that this ruling actually goes far beyond just the outlaw of abortion in these states. Justice Alito's opinion encouraged states to not just outlaw abortion, but to criminalize it. And we know that Black women and communities of color are already over-policed and over-surveilled in these conservative states and elsewhere throughout this United States. And the fact that this opinion has essentially directed the states to criminalize abortion, that means that we're going to see Black women and other women of color have their pregnancies under scrutiny. When women experience miscarriages, which is unfortunate, but a common occurrence during pregnancy, there might be increased suspicion for criminal penalties. And so I think that's the biggest concern for us as a racial justice organization, the Lawyers Committee, is this criminalization of abortion.
And when we say criminal penalties, now as a result of this, there's a significant amount of power that now rests in the hands of district attorneys. And so walk us through what that potentially looks like. So right now, let's talk Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, West Virginia. What could DAs do right now if a woman chooses to try to get an abortion, or if someone is trying to provide one? What actually could happen?
Well, we know that Texas has permitted basically bounty hunting on people who assist or provide abortions. And so we know that there are definitely civil penalties at play here. And we also know that also occurring in Texas, a woman was arrested just a few short weeks ago under suspicion of having attained an abortion. So this is a very real threat. And what really matters here is that we go to the polls and we make our voices known, that we will not stand for our bodies to be criminalized and heavily surveilled in the way that this court is asking the states to do today.
It is, again, quite a change, Ianthe, at what is happening. Again, I have been seeing different reports already. I saw one tweet where women were calling, crying, sobbing uncontrollably in West Virginia because we're the only clinic there no longer can provide the services to those women. You even have some conservatives who are literally trying to pass laws in their states that would even make it illegal for women to go out of state. And so give our listeners and viewers an understanding of how far this goes. And not only that, this bill in Mississippi, the Supreme Court ruled on, this law, had no exception for rape or incest. And so what used to be among many Republicans, it is now where you don't even have even that limitation in some of these laws that they're actually passing.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. Yes. You're absolutely right. This has been a really devastating day for women and anybody who supports reproductive freedom across the country. I mean, you mentioned West Virginia, but in some states like Wisconsin and South Dakota, they had stopped providing abortion before the decision because they didn't want people to be in a position where they were at a health center and then a decision came down and they were desperate and had to figure out what to do in that moment. So it's been really bad for several weeks. I mean, this was coming, but we know that across the country, 36 million people are going to be affected by this decision. People in the majority of the Midwest and southern states who already have the hardest time getting care. There's going to be Black people, Indigenous people, Latino people who have long always been discriminated against in the healthcare system. And now they're going to be desperate. They're going to have to be either carry a pregnancy to term that they cannot support or seek healthcare outside the traditional medical system. And so it's a really, really devastating time. And I don't think that people fully understand what this means because states that will still have abortion access cannot absorb the other states that will not. And it's going to be a really, really, this is a healthcare crisis, which is what we need to call it. And it's really devastating already. And it's been swift to see states already move to ban abortion within the first hours of this decision coming down.
Melanie, it's been really interesting as I have looked at different folks commenting on this. And what we're seeing, there were a number of people. I saw Neil Cattell, who was Solicitor General under Obama, who wrote a column in the New York Times saying liberals should support Neil Gorsuch. And I tweeted, and he was retweeting all of these things today, lamenting this decision. And I sent him a tweet. I'm like, do you now, frankly, apologize for what you wrote? He even introduced Neil Gorsuch at his confirmation hearings. I remember Kathleen Parker writes in the Washington Post, hey, folks, calm down. There's not going to be any change, no difference if Trump wins over Hillary Clinton. Trump appointed 3 of these conservative Supreme Court justices. And so I think people are now realizing those of us, folk like you, folk like me, we tried to tell America. We tried to say, hey, we know what states' rights supporters look like. And now people are now realizing we were right. And they should have listened to Black people.
Yeah, Roland, we were out there in the streets, trying to connect the dots for folks, trying to get, multiracial coalitions together, because at the end of the day, really, this started with what happened in 2016. A lot of folks I know, say they're grieving. I won't say I'm grieving. I'm mad as hell because we didn't have to be here today. Right. But the reality is, in 2016, when folks voted for Trump over Hillary Clinton, this was set in motion. This was set in motion. And so here we are in this situation that we find ourselves in. And those same people are going to, and Clarence Thomas's, what he wrote in his in the decision is saying, let's go for getting rid of contraception, sodomy laws. They're coming for it, right? And so we're in a moment where there's this opportunity with the way people vote, right? And I'm not blaming all white women, but white women voted for Trump twice.
53% in 2016.
And 55 in 2020. And so here we are. Elections have consequences.
Yeah.
So what I'm hopeful is that young people will stand up and push back, because those old men sitting on that Supreme Court and that one white woman that decided that we knew what she was going to do before she got on the bench. And so here we are with them legislating from the bench. And there's an opportunity. I'm nonpartisan, so I can't get into, but just as Melanie Campbell, at the end of the day, we have this opportunity to decide who's going to control the House and the Senate, and whether or not you can vote enough people onto the Senate to put Manchin and Sinema to the side. That's the bottom line. Or nothing is going to get done. And we're going to keep seeing these rollbacks, and they're going to come after affirmative action. They're going to come after anything that is about progressive movement and inclusion that addresses the reality that we live in a multiracial, multi-ethnic society, and that the browning of America is not going to change. And the fact of the matter is, white women are not going to go sit back and get chastity belts and go sit in their bedrooms and let their husbands or tell them what to do. But they have more resources to get on a plane and fly to another state. They have more resources to go to Canada or Mexico.
Right.
But our people don't. And the fact that this is also going to threaten lives of babies. You're going to make a 12-year-old have a baby if they're raped, with incest. This is where we are. But when they have a focus on where they're going, and it is about keeping white men in a certain level of power. Mm-hmm. And if you can control my body, you control me.
And Pilar, this goes beyond even just, obviously this is a fundamental issue, but it goes beyond this. That writing of Justice Clarence Thomas, he is saying, hey, all y'all gay folks who married, we now can take that away from you. Contraception, we can now take that away. We are now talking about, with the conservatives having a 6-3 majority, they literally, we saw it with the gun decision, they are on an absolute states' rights focus that could upend any number of legal precedents.
That's true. And I think that the major point of this opinion was Justice Alito encouraging people to get out to vote. saying that this is now a states' right issue and really placing the power in the hands of the elected officials. But what's actually odd about all that is that we know that this Supreme Court has spent the last several years gutting the Voting Rights Act, limiting the right to vote, especially for communities of color, allowing rampant voting suppression to occur in the states. And so it's actually gaslighting the American people to suggest, well, the remedy to this is to vote. And so
right.
These senators and these state legislators, they are coming for our rights. And we need to be prepared. And we do need to figure out, how are we going to get to these polls? How are we going to overcome these numerous barriers in order to have a modicum of a chance of stopping this from happening?
And Pilar, remember, this same, well, obviously you know this, but for the audience, this same Supreme Court said, Justice John Roberts, hey, you know what, we can't do anything about gerrymandering. So part of the issue now is that where Black people are living, we're living in southern states. Republicans are controlling Florida. They're controlling Tennessee. They're controlling, Mississippi, Alabama. They're controlling Louisiana, Democratic governor, but they control the legislature. Texas, Arkansas. We can go South Carolina. We can go on and on and on. And so they're controlling the state Supreme Court, legislatures, supermajorities, governors' mansions. And so at the end of the day, what he said, I'm sorry, can't apply because, look, we can't crack through that without the voting rights protection, without getting rid of political gerrymandering.
That's right. But to that point, I am so happy that we do have the Justice Department on our side. We have Kristen Clark, who is the former president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee there, and she's a staunch voting rights advocate. And so I know that we are using every tool in our to ensure the right to vote. And I don't want to discourage people from voting. I don't want to send the message that there's no point. There is a point to vote. We do have people in our corner, and I'm still hopeful.
Well, we have people in their corner, but we also have civil rights groups like yours that are actually fighting these battles that people are not seeing. Ianthe, give us a perspective in terms of what are you saying to your clinics in these red states? What is being said right now?
Yes. Well, our health centers in these states are in a really difficult position. They have to decide what the risk is and there's a risk to their patients, but to their providers who can face criminal penalties or jail time for violating these laws, and to their staff as well. So these are some really big decisions, and they've been forced into this position because of these anti-abortion lawmakers who are against the values of the majority of people in these states. And so it's
can I ask you, hold on one second, because I want you to clarify something. When you say they face the risk, so here's the question. If there's a plan, if you have a Planned Parenthood clinic in Arkansas, and the Attorney General has already certified this decision based upon their previous laws, can Planned Parenthood actually perform abortions? And if they do, are they risking being arrested, or is it outlawed? So again, let's just for people to be clear in terms of what we're now dealing with.
Yes. So in a state where the attorney general or the governor has already declared or certified a trigger ban, abortion is outlawed. We are not providing abortion. But in a state like Arizona, for example, where there is a pre-row ban on the books that could be enforced but has not officially been enforced yet, our clinics there are not providing either, even though they technically could because of the risk assessment. So it really depends on the state and the landscape there. But in states where we have had very definitive rulings and certifications from state lawmakers, we are not providing.
And so, Pilar, I'm looking here at this New York Times story right here, and it says that right now, abortion is banned in at least 9 states. And it said with trigger bans and several more set to take effect in the coming days.
Yes. So these trigger bans have been in place for several months, if not years, in some instances. They have been planning for this, and they were ready for this moment. And that's something I would like to emphasize to people. They have been playing the long game. And unfortunately, on the side of some of the progressive sides, we didn't take it seriously enough. They have been planning for this moment. They have been preparing for this moment. Something to note, Mississippi, when they initially filed this lawsuit, they did not ask that the court overturn Roe versus Wade. They simply asked that the court enforce their 15-week abortion ban, which would have been devastating, but certainly nowhere near what we're seeing today. So
really, the Supreme Court was waiting for a case. So what you're saying right there is that this Supreme Court went further than this Mississippi law. This court chose to ban, to get rid of Roe v. Wade.
This court chose to ban or to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's correct. They were not asked to do so. The question presented by Mississippi was whether or not it was lawful to outlaw abortion pre-viability, which was the existing standard. You could get an abortion up until viability, which was about 24 weeks. And then during their briefing, when they saw that the court had kind of turned in their favor, they switched the question or they started making much more extreme arguments. The court did not call them out on that, and they just went with it as if it was part of the course. And so this was a very unusual case in the sense that the court went far beyond what was even presented in the initial lawsuit.
I want to bring in Kelly Bethea here because I want to ask her about this along with Melanie Campbell. So Kelly, and I'm looking at this tweet here from Ronald Brownstein, of course, who is a journalist with The Atlantic. He says this here: the growing sense among D activists is that the party's leaders aren't fully facing the challenge. The November-centric thinking and business as usual approach of the D party's septuagenarian and octogenarian leaders who have seemingly little to say about the crisis facing the party. That really is what we're looking at right here, Kelly, because at the end of the day, to respond to this decision, it is going to require a robust response from Democratic leaders. And yes, you've seen tweets and videos today, but this is one of those moments that they're going to have to figure out: how do you marshal the forces? How do you reach those voters? How do you talk to those young voters? How do you rebuild an Obama coalition? Because they are facing a significant red wave in November that can only be stopped if you have maximum turnout.
And that's my biggest fear with this, right? Because right now what we're seeing is kind of par for the course for the Democratic Party, at least the powers that be in the Democratic Party. When something massive happens, you basically throw a temper tantrum on the news and in your press releases and any type of exposure that you're going to get. And then when the noise dies down, so does your cause. And we cannot afford to do that right now, because the way that I read this case, it goes beyond just the right to abortion. This is about your right to privacy. This is about your right under substantive due process, which is basically the essence of the Constitution, the rights that aren't necessarily stated explicitly in the Constitution, but are still enforced by the Constitution by way of how the Constitution was written, by way of between the Bill of Rights and the amendments, right? All of that is under siege right now by way of this opinion. When they did not follow stare decisis, which is basically legalese for I said what I said, that we are going to follow previous case law to determine what this law is, like a previous panelist said, they didn't even do that here. They skipped over the case at hand in order to just push their agenda. So to me, this is more than abortion, which is why I'm so angry right now, because when Clarence Thomas talked about the other rights on the table that are about to be under attack, he conveniently left out Loving v. Virginia, which is also under substantive due process, which would actually prevent him from being married to his wife anymore. But the hypocrisy of it all and the asinine behavior of this court to take away rights that aren't necessarily explicitly in the Constitution, but are enforced by the Constitution, the Democrats really need to get on the ball and sending that message home, in that the Constitution is under attack right now, not just because of this decision, but of the decisions that are going to happen by way of the way that they decided this case today.
Melanie, that particular point there in terms of what we are facing, first and foremost, people had an opportunity to brace themselves for this day when that draft by Samuel Alito was leaked several weeks ago. And so I saw this comment from Congressman Jim Clyburn, who's called today somewhat anticlimactic, but the reality is it is still shocking and stunning, overturning, again, nearly 50 years of Supreme Court precedent. At the end of the day, the only response, and let me be clear, there's only one response, and that is going to be voting. But what has to happen is You've got to have individuals who are messaging properly, who are speaking to the very issues, who are putting the resources on the ground to actually make that happen. And unfortunately, here we are almost at the end of June, going into July. And I'll be honest, Melody, I'm seeing a whole bunch of Democrat organizations, a whole bunch of Democratic politicians still not doing what's necessary to reach Black voters and young voters. And they're sort of playing by that same old playbook. Hey, let's stick around and wait for the second week of October, and then we'll engage them. That's going to be a problem come election day.
Yes, Roland, and it's too quiet. And I think what happened today, hopefully will wake people up. And the reality is that these folks don't care about the Constitution. They have those who are on the side of this are the same people who support Donald Trump, who are the same people who support voting rights being repressed. Because at the end of the day, they'd rather have a authoritarian state. And when you think about if you get out of the Beltway and think about what's going on in Florida with DeSantis and some of the laws that he's been, so there's been a lot of it, Texas, right? So you can see where this is going. And there are folks who believe that they'd rather have minority rule. A few people rule over the majority of us. So yes, there is a new majority in this country by population and by diversity, but there is still those who have set up a power dynamic that would put all of us in a situation that we would be under almost like an apartheid state. And so that part of it means that if we don't do all that we can, and those who say that they understand don't put the resources in yesterday, not tomorrow, yesterday, then the results of the 2022 election are going to be catastrophic beyond anything that we can repair in any period of time in a short. It will change what this nation really is with all of its flaws. The core that we were taught was, oh, it's about the Constitution, the rule of law, and all of these things, until you started seeing the diversity that the census numbers showed. And so I have a level of cynicism about where our progressive community is really ready to fully fight. I would hope this will wake up people who should have already been woke when voting rights was repealed. And when we weren't able to get George Floyd, and you had 2 years ago, we now are facing another summer of organizing and activism. We got to get in the streets. It costs money for that to happen. I've talked to too many organizations that don't have the resources to do what they need to do. If you don't have a turnout at the minimum of what happened in 2018, then it's cancel Christmas. That's where we are. And young people drove the vote along with Black women and others, showed up in 2018. They saw the danger, but they didn't really get the credit, right? And then Black women voted at 54%, I think it was, and Black men close to 50%. We're carrying it, right? But there were there's no resources out there right now.
Pilar, just a question for you, and for people who are, again, who might think, well, okay, this is just a couple of decisions. This decision, the Miranda decision, the gun decision. In September, I'm dropping my book, White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. People need to understand what we're facing right now. What we're talking about even goes beyond this case here. Because conservatives now hold a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, even if Chief Justice John Roberts chooses to go another way, they can run the table. They can literally, and what we're seeing is not just the Supreme Court. Now we're talking about if Republicans get control of the House and the Senate, what happens there? The only block, if you will, is Biden with veto power. But then we're talking about the state legislatures. Now we're seeing what is happening on the county commissioner level, the city council level, the school board level. And I have been saying since 2009 that, look, I said to John Avalon, I said, we're living in the beginning of white minority resistance. And now you're talking about, by holding this power, by having these young white conservative Supreme Court justices, their goal is to rule for the next 50 years. And so people need to be understanding they've been playing the long game. I think a lot of Democrats and progressives have not been playing the long game.
That's true. I mean, I think we should assume that everything was on the table at this point.
Everything.
Don't assume that your same access to your schools will be the same in the next decade or so. We're already seeing the unraveling at the school level, like you just mentioned. They are very concerned that white students and Black students are waking up to injustices, and they're fighting very hard to ensure that this 50-year plan that they have, that there's someone to carry the torch. Obviously, it's not going to end with the current the current ruling class. These people are looking to raise the next generation, and that's how we know that this is the long game. They're playing chess. I think the progressives are playing checkers. It's very apparent, even in the messaging, even as far as how easily they grasp situations and how they flip the messaging before you even had a chance to read about it. So this is a very serious thing. Assume everything is on the table. They are not playing any games. They are trying to take us backwards, which I think is evident in Justice Alito's opinion, where he heavily relies on the opinions and thoughts of white men in the 1700s and the 1800s. I think that gives us a strong clue of what they're trying to do here.
Ianthe, in terms of, look, Planned Parenthood has certainly been one of the groups that have been on the front lines, involved in advocacy. And so what's next for your organization?
Yeah, well, we're going to be fighting this fight on several fronts. I mean, we have the healthcare delivery front, where we're working to get patients out of state when they can't access this care in their own state, working with abortion funds and other independent providers to get people the money, the childcare, the transportation, all of those things to get out of state if they can. And then there's the electoral front, of course. There's a November election coming up. We're working to channel the pain and anger and energy that we're seeing right now into votes in November and keep people motivated on that front. And then we're also, just thinking about litigation. Litigation is a strategy we've used for a long time. And I think you're going to see a lot of filing of litigation very, very quickly. Some has already started in many of these states to see if even this trigger ban mechanism is even legal, that you can pass a law that is like based on a hypothetical that hasn't happened yet. So that's going to be a big part of this as well. And then in states where we do have supportive lawmakers, we're going to be shoring up access, passing new bills to expand who can provide abortion in those states, to expand telehealth services, all those things, because we know that, again, when you ban abortion, people are not going to stop needing to access it. So we're really working on all these fronts to get people the care they need and to hopefully build back what we've lost, because this is the culmination of a 50-year effort from the anti-abortion movement. They have won today, but they're not going to win in the long game, because the majority of Americans do support legal abortion, and we are going to build back what we got step by step, state by state. It will take time, but we're very committed to doing that.
Pilar Whitaker, Law Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. I certainly appreciate you joining us on the show. Please keep up the great work that you're doing. And I always did this with Kristen Clark. I would always remind her when she was on my show, or Tom Joyner, always give the website out to donate, because y'all need the resources to keep fighting these battles. So where can people support the Lawyers Committee?
You can find us on lawyerscommittee.org. Thank you. I really appreciate the support.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Ianthe, thank you so very much as well for joining us as well.
Thank you very much.
Kelly, you heard Ianthe talk about what's happening in some of these Democratic states. He's a perfect example of where Governor Gavin Newsom has already signed this into law. He just signed a bill that makes California a safe haven for women across the country. And he says, tweets, "We will not cooperate with any states that attempt to prosecute women or doctors for receiving or providing reproductive care."
And that's a wonderful sentiment to have. But the fact still remains that while California may be a safe haven, we're talking about not just women who have access to get to California. We're really talking about women who don't have access to get to anywhere but their immediate region to get the care that they need. And that is what's frustrating right now. One of the many things that are frustrating right now, people who are in power, mainly today, SCOTUS, aren't thinking. Like, this is beyond just, again, like I said, this is beyond your right to an abortion. This is your right to care for yourself. This is your right to privacy and your private health. The government shouldn't have anything to do with that. You shouldn't have anything to do with my body in this regard. You don't know what it's like. And for the evangelicals out there that I have seen across my screen and phone today, while I identify as a Christian, even if I didn't, like, your God has nothing to do with my body. What you believe God has over your temple has nothing to do with my temple and how I deem my temple to be fit for the God that I serve. And not to mention the separation of church and state in this regard. I mean, that's just out the window with rulings like this. It is absolutely archaic and asinine and absurd to think that other entities have a say in what I do privately. Mind your business and keep it moving. That's really all that I am pro for. Like, I am pro mind your business. Leave me and my uterus alone. Frankly, I've had menstrual cycles that have bigger clots than an abortion does. And are we going to persecute that? Are we going to chastise and prosecute me for having a menstrual cycle now? Because now that substantive due process is off the table, because that's really what this case is about. That's off the table. What else is going to be off the table? My right to the healthcare that I want, the way that I want to go to school, the way that I want to raise my children, the way that I want to care for my seniors.
Yes. Okay. Let's
exactly.
No.
Yeah.
But again, no. That's what I think people have to understand, that this thing goes beyond just this decision here. Melanie Campbell, look at here. Joe Ingles just tweeted this literally 20 minutes or so, or 30 minutes ago. Abortion in Ohio is now banned at the point a fetal heartbeat can be detected. That's about 6 weeks into a pregnancy before many women know they are pregnant. A federal court just lifted the stay put on the law passed in 2019 when Roe was still in effect. And so now, of course, that's one of the places where they have a U.S. Senate race there, where Congressman Tim Ryan is facing, of course, a Trump lover, J.D. Vance. That's a state that Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton by 450,000 votes in 2016. He beat Joe Biden there in 2020. It's going to be happening. But again, what people have to understand, Melanie, they have to be prepared. Everything is now on the table.
Right.
It was different when you had Justice Anthony Kennedy, who was a conservative, but sometimes he ruled with the liberal justices, and so for that court, he was deemed a moderate. He really wasn't, but but he somewhat was. No. This case, you've got five hardcore conservatives, and you got a conservative Chief Justice John Roberts who's trying to temper that. But the bottom line is they have control. The Supreme Court, conservatives, Republicans, right now have absolute control of the highest court in the land, and whatever they now decide is law in America, unless Congress changes the laws, and that's going to require political leaders to get some guts. It's going to require Democrats to get rid of the filibuster. Because understand this, Melody, and I got no problem saying it. If Republicans win the White House in 2024 and they control the House and the Senate, you can bet the first bill that they're going to vote on, and they will get rid of the filibuster, is a national ban on abortion.
Oh, yes. This is where we are. It's within 2 years. And what happens in November of 2022 sets the table, right? And if you end up with a certain type of Republican controlling all of this, then that's why I say we are looking at an authoritarian state. Because if you have the ability, whether it's Donald Trump or Trump lookalike, that could take over the presidency, and you have control of the House and the Senate and the U.S. Supreme Court, all bets are off, right? And history can repeat itself, right? And this is where we find ourselves. And so it will take, as Bishop Reverend Barber explains us in what he does with his work. And I think it was last week. I couldn't be there, but I know it was last week with the Poor People's Campaign, if we don't find a way to come together in a collective fashion, but Black people can't carry it on our own. We can't carry this democracy on our back, right? And that's what it's been. And so we have been there for, when we're fighting for rights, it always helps others. But when it's time for us, it doesn't. And so here we are. And now, and I think young people, this is your moment, right? And those of us who are still on the battlefield are gonna keep fighting. But I'm not personally in that category of worrying about my reproductive rights in the same way, right? But my nieces are, my great nieces are, and so that's where we are about what kind of future are we allowing to unfold for our this next generation. And those who are in position, these young people who are the largest voting bloc, have to use that power. They have to own it, because if they don't, then what they're setting up for, you said it, 50 years in the making, will happen within a matter of 2. It won't be 50 years. It's going to happen in 2 years. If they're able to do where this could go, and there is no pushback. It's not about being alarmed. It's just fact. People knew this was going to happen. That's why I'm like, okay, what we're going to do? You know,
the only way to combat this is what we talk about with Reverend Barber, with you all the time. The only way, you have to mobilize and organize. Yeah. That's the only way.
And we got to use the summer, Roland. We got to huddle. Right? We got to have some organizing activism.
Hey, Melody, I said last month, this should be Freedom Summer. This should be Freedom Summer 2022.
And we got to get on, we got to do the hard work, put on our mask. I'm still believing COVID not gone, and do what we need to do, because our lives are under attack. Our very ability to be able to live and have some modicum of freedom to live in this country is under attack, because you have a group of people who believe, who never sleep, right? They never slumber. They never a lack of resources. But I still believe the half full side. We can push back, but if nothing happens in the next couple of weeks,
you cannot show momentary outrage. Melanie Campbell, Kelly Bethea, I want to appreciate both of you for joining us. Look, I keep telling people, we've been saying this on this show repeatedly, what's going on, what is happening. Folk had better pay attention. We appreciate both of you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, going to a commercial break right now, but I'm going to play this. The folks at Midas Touch actually put this video out again. When I hear Susan Collins and Joe Manchin just talk about, we're just so shocked by this, and keep saying, I don't know why you shocked. These folks made it clear that they were not telling the truth when they testified before the United States Senate.
I believe the Constitution protects the right to privacy, and I have no reason or agenda to prejudge the issue.
Roe versus Wade is an important precedent of the Supreme Court. It was decided in 1973. It has been challenged on a number of occasions, and the Supreme Court has reaffirmed the decision. When a decision is challenged and it is reaffirmed, that strengthens its value.
Roe versus Wade, decided in 1973, is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. It has been reaffirmed, so a good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court, worthy as treatment of precedent like any other.
As a judge, it is an important precedent of the Supreme Court. By it, I mean Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Been reaffirmed many times. Casey is precedent on precedent.
I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh will overturn.
Precedents are overturned all the time.
They aren't overturned all the time. He views precedent not just as a legal doctrine, but as rooted in our Constitution.
Neil Gorsuch, for whom you voted, don't you think he's probably going to vote to overturn Roe versus Wade if given the chance?
I actually don't.
Roe is not a super precedent because calls for its overruling have never ceased, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
All right, folks, going to a break. When we back, more with our panel. We'll also play for you some of the reaction from various folks, including Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, Congresswoman Val Demings, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and others. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built in.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years.
We got iPhone 13s too. Switched 2 minutes ago, literally right before this.
iPhone 13 on us on any unlimited plan for every customer, with plans starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
My name is Charlie Wilson.
Hi, I'm Sally Richardson Whitfield.
And I'm Dante Whitfield.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, after the Supreme Court decision came down this morning, President Joe Biden offered these remarks.
Today is it's not hyperbole to suggest a very solemn moment. Today, the Supreme Court of the United States expressly took away a constitutional right from the American people that it had already recognized. They didn't limit it, they simply took it away. That's never been done to a right so important to so many Americans. But they did it. It's a sad day for the court and for the country. 50 years ago, Roe v. Wade was decided and has been the law of the land since then. This landmark case protected a woman's right to choose, her right to make intensely personal decisions with her doctor, free from the interference of politics. It reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, and it reinforced a fundamental right of privacy, a right of each of us to choose how to live our lives. Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk. As chairman and ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, as vice president and now as president of the United States, I've studied this case carefully. I've overseen more Supreme Court confirmations than anyone today, where this case was always discussed. I believe Roe v. Wade was the correct decision as a matter of constitutional law and application of the fundamental right to privacy and liberty in matters of family and personal autonomy. It was a decision on a complex matter and through a careful balance between a woman's right to choose earlier in her pregnancy and the state's ability to regulate later in her pregnancy. A decision with broad national consensus that most Americans of faith and backgrounds found acceptable. that have been the law of the land for most of the lifetime of Americans today.
Folks, that was President Joe Biden. Vice President Kamala Harris, she also went before the cameras and addressed this particular ruling.
This opinion also says, when you read it, that abortion is not deeply rooted in our nation's history. They offer that in the opinion as a foundation for the decision they rendered today. In holding that it is not deeply rooted in our history, today's decision on that theory then calls into question other rights that we thought were settled, such as the right to use birth control, the right to same-sex marriage, the right to interracial marriage. The great aspiration of our nation has been to expand freedom. But the expansion of freedom clearly is not inevitable. It is not something that just happens. Not unless we defend our most fundamental principles. Not unless we elect leaders who stand up for those principles. The strength of our nation has always been that we move forward. Today, I invite all people to stand together in defense of one of the most fundamental ideals and principles that for generations, for centuries, I believe we had held dear, which is that fundamental principle about the importance of liberty.
All right, folks, let's bring up my panel. Reese Colbert, Black Women Views, Michael Imhotep, the African History Network show. Dr. Larry J. Walker, he is assistant professor at the University of Central Florida. Shireen Mitchell, she is social media analyst and diversity strategist. We also have State Representative Renita Shannon of Georgia. Reese, I want to start with you. Are Democrats truly prepared for this fight?
No. However, I want to start by saying, fuck the Supreme Court. And fuck Republicans and fuck Republican voters, because I know we're going to get into Democratic strategy and their lack of preparation and even the lack of zeal they seem to have to face this challenge and mobilize the voters and shake people out of their slumber, their apathy, their disillusionment, their whatever the hell, and really meet the moment. But the people that brought us here are Republicans who have been relentless and disciplined for 5 decades to get us to the point where women are no longer full citizens in this country, point blank in the period. And the reason why this is just getting a shoulder shrug across much of the nation is because this country doesn't give a damn about women. They don't give a damn about babies. They don't give a damn about children. And what people don't understand is whether or not you're going to have an abortion or whether or not you feel like I'm going to have an abortion or whatever, this opens up the door for so many things in terms of the right to privacy, in terms of if your homegirl is talking to you about her abortion, if you have a miscarriage, if you're going through in vitro fertilization. Look at Texas where they have bounties on people. So if you're an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, this opens up the door for so many things. And guess what? Even if you didn't have an abortion, prove it. Because the presumption of some MAGA nurse or some racist doctor or whoever is going to be that you did something to cause harm to your unborn baby if you have a miscarriage, if you end up in the hospital and you seek medical care. And what we have right now is where women do not have the right to free movement around the country to make decisions for their bodies. That's why you have a state like California and Massachusetts and Maine that are now safe havens and saying they won't cooperate with investigations. But we know the deference that different states and attorneys generals and people have for institutions. So what happens when even those executive orders or laws get overturned by this right-wing extremist Supreme Court? So I need people to wake the fuck up. I feel like I want to be like Bernie Mac in head of state and just go around slapping the shit out of people, because I don't think that people are really recognizing the severity of this moment. And it's a nightmare And I just need more energy out of people. I need people to really wake the hell up, because this is just the opening salvo. What Clarence Thomas said in his concurring opinion is, let's go after same-sex marriage. I know people don't care about the LGBTQ community. I understand that as well. But they want to go after contraception. Now, if you're out there getting your freaky deaky on, then you need to be worried about that part, because not everybody's just pulling out. Some of y'all making sure, did you take your plan B? Are you on the pill? That's one of the first questions y'all want to ask people. So you need to be concerned about that as well. Okay. And when you talk about privacy, so there are so many things that are on the table, and what they're waiting for, this is just the beginning. But if the Republicans take back the House or the Senate or the White House or all goddamn three, then what we have right now, which is no longer a United States where people have equal rights to pit on every state, what we're going to have is them codifying this stuff the other way when they get control. And that's what Clarence Thomas is chomping at the bit for. So come on, people, wake up. I know we're going to get on the Democrats, and I think there's a lot of things that they can do. But right now, I just want to really emphasize that there is one party that's winning battle after battle, and there are people that are sitting home on their ass waiting for somebody to give them a red carpet invitation to the polls, when this should be enough. Uvalde should have been enough. Buffalo should have been enough. Them obstructing voting rights should have been enough. This shit should be enough. Right. And the next 5 to 10 things they're going to do should be enough. Wake up, people, and get your ass out and vote. Even if you don't like the Democrats, even if the Democrats ain't shit, even if the Democrats is weak punk asses that just let Republicans do what the fuck ever, guess what? We still need the Republicans the hell up out of office.
Representative Shannon, Michael Imhotep, Shireen, and Larry, and Michael, I want you to go over you, them, Representative Shannon. Look, Eric Erickson sent this out. It's not like the conservative movement has been hiding its intentions. We've spent 40 years being open and transparent about moving the court right, and people seem freaked out we actually did it. And all that means is you got to work at the state level now. Michael, they've been clear.
Yes.
They made it clear we want all of the power, and when we get it, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. And not only have they been clear, Roland, Donald Trump was very clear in 2016 when he ran. And this is what I warned my listeners on the African History Network show, 9:10 a.m. WFDF here in Detroit, day after day. This is what I warned them about. Donald Trump said he would only nominate Supreme Court justices who would overturn Roe versus Wade. He said it. And not only that, if we look at Trump, who I loathe and abhor, okay, but everything that Donald Trump did, either legally or illegally, pretty much he told you he was going to do it before he did it. So, we have to learn from this. And this is one of the differences between Republicans and Democrats. And I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I sure as hell ain't stupid. In 2016, many Republicans who voted for Donald Trump, Trump was not their first, second, third, fourth, or fifth choice. But I watched numerous focus groups and interviews with people who ended up voting for Trump. They said this is about the courts. They said this is about the Supreme Courts. This is about the federal courts. And they said this is about Roe versus Wade. Over and over again, this was the message in 2016. For a lot of people who voted for Democrats or voted for Hillary Clinton or did not vote for Hillary Clinton, even more so, they were like, I don't like that beat. And this was problematic. I told people this is not about a person. This is about the trajectory of this country for the next 25 or 30 years. And it's only in probably 2020 election that more people who vote Democrats started realizing, oh, you know what? We got to focus on the Supreme Court. Oh, you know what? We got to focus on the federal bench. After Donald Trump ran a Boston and got 226 federal judges elected, and it's a lifetime appointment, and these are many judges who were on a list that was submitted to him from the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation. So we got to learn from this and understand long-range planning and also understand history as well. So, brother, this right here should be a wake-up call for everybody.
Representative Shannon, the thing that, again, anybody who's watched this show since we launched on September 4th, 2018, if they watch my News One Now daily morning show, if they watch Washington Watch, we launched in September of 2009. We have been walking this thing through, trying to get people to understand and connecting the dots. And what you saw in 2016, you saw people who were looking for the perfect candidate, pissed off because Bernie lost to Hillary Clinton. So damn Hillary Clinton. Matter of fact, I was looking at some tweets of some folks who were complaining today, but then others were pulling up their tweets from 2016 saying how happy they were not voting for Hillary Clinton. Today's decision, the Miranda decision, the gun decision are perfect examples of what happens when you're sitting around hoping for the perfect candidate to come along, and then, as Reese might say, you fuck around and find out.
Yeah, but this is not about waiting for the perfect candidate to come along, because, I am somebody who's never underestimated Republicans, ever. And I would argue that we can go before 2016 to look at how Republicans operate and the agendas that they have been on. Look at when the Supreme Court gutted voting rights. I mean, they have been telling us that this is what they wanted to do, and these people are relentless. And so I think what Democrats have got to understand is they have got to become relentless, and they have got to be willing to do what it takes to win. Republicans, whether they're in the minority or the majority, they still get their agenda done. Why? Because they wake up every single day thinking about how to get their agenda done. And we still have the case that Democratic leadership is spending more time fighting progressives than they will Republicans. Put that energy into fighting these people. We're still hearing, I think we can work with them. We can use our relationships. No, all of these people operate like Trump. Whether they look like Trump, whether they sound like Trump, they are going to vote this agenda and they're going to move it forward. We still have the president today saying that, he's not sure about adding more justices to the court. We still never got a full-throated endorsement to overturn the filibuster. It's not too late. I would argue that what loses elections is not advancing the agenda that you ran on, and it's not too late.
Well, on that particular point there, Shireen, when it's not too late, again, I mean, I'm sitting, here's the deal. I'm looking at Manchin's comments, I'm looking at Sinema's comments, and I'm like, you do know y'all can actually pass and make Roe v. Wade the law right now.
No, exactly. And I think the part about this I think people are not understanding is that they didn't just go backwards in time. They went back to antebellum laws, right? The first state that Alito is referencing as precedent is Missouri in 1825. Who did not have the right to do anything in 1825, right? So the fact that these people are like, we can't do anything, it really is problematic overall, not just because of Biden and who's currently in office. It's about understanding what are the steps that we can achieve and whether or not we made those choices before. Obama could have forced Garland into the office because 9 months had gone by and Congress did nothing. So that meant your point, he could have made a recess appointment, forced Republicans to take him to court, and that could have taken up potentially 2 years. He would have been on the court. I still said he should have appointed a black woman to piss off, to get the base riled up, to get other folks riled up. And I said it, I'm sorry. What nobody gonna fight for another old white man in Merrick Garland? And you got to throw on, I know folks hail Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she screwed up. She should have retired when Democrats had the majority in the Senate, but no, she wanted to wait around because she assumed Hillary Clinton was going to win and she wanted a female president to replace her. Well, we saw what happened. She dies 2 months before the election, and they confirmed 2 months before the election in 2020. They confirmed Amy Coney Barrett. Boom, 6-3 majority. Exactly. And the other piece about this is that when we talk about precedent, when we talk about laws, we're not owning up to the fact that people are making up laws as we go. As we talked about this conversation about the school boards, one of the things that the school boards are doing, is pushing parents' rights. That actually takes autonomy away from children. So now you're telling women they don't have any rights about what's happening to their body, but we're also moving right along to the other part of that where the children are now born and we're going to take the rights away from them too. So we are not speaking about things that can't be changed. We need to say them in a way that people understand. It's not just taking away your autonomy or a woman's autonomy, it's taking away children's autonomy. That a parent would have more autonomy over a child, even if that parent is the abuser. Sorry about that, y'all.
And let me say this here, Larry, that's important for us to understand. All y'all men, your ass, if they are forcing women, if women are choosing not to have the children, Get ready to pay child support. And understand, and this is the one that for me, again, shows you how crazy these people are. No exceptions for rape or incest. That means that if a woman gets raped, these Republicans are forcing her to have the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Roland, this is a dark day in United States history, but it's not surprising. And you talked about, we tried to tell you, and we have for a very long time, and no one's listened to Black folks, and here we are. You mentioned in a previous segment in 2016 about the majority of white women voting for Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton. But it is also incumbent on men to take a stand to make sure we're registered to vote, that we get other people registered to vote, particularly Black men, because this ruling is disproportionately going to impact Black women. So we should be clear about that. The Supreme Court is sending a clear message is that they want to create a caste system in the United States. The other thing I want to keep in mind, Roland, I just talked about 2016, but I want to go back a little further than that in terms of Republicans, in terms of their actions, in terms of what they plan to do for this country. Let's go back to 1990s and the contract with America with the Gingrich Revolution. I think we need to go back, like I said, to that period of time in terms of what the messages the Republicans were clearly sending once they took the House back in terms of where we are today. Because for me, that kind of was essentially a seismic shift in what happens politically in the United States. And so here we are in 2022. But once again, like I said, you mentioned it's important for men to really step their game up. And like I said, get out, make sure people are registered to vote, make sure we're protecting Black women, because we talk about these safe havens and obviously Washington State, California, Oregon, et cetera. But the bottom line is we shouldn't, with Black women in particular, shouldn't have to worry about traveling. And many folks may not even have the money. And I think Reese alluded to that a little bit earlier. But we should be in a position in what we describe as a democracy where people have to travel tens of hundreds of miles just because they should have the right to make a decision about what they do about their bodies. So once again, it is incumbent on Black men to make sure we're out registering to vote, and we're fighting with Black women side by side to make sure we fight, to make sure we do something about not only the Supreme Court, but ensure that we get the members of the House and Senate to step up and do something about this.
Let me go to a break. We come back. I want to talk more about the what's next part because it's real easy to focus on the outrage and folks showing up at the Supreme Court. But the question is, what's next? We'll break that down. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. I thought new phones were for new customers. We got iPhone 13s too, switched to Verizon 2 minutes ago.
Ours were busted, and we still got a shiny new one.
Check it out. So wait, everybody gets the same great deal.
I think that's the point.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. On any unlimited plan, starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
What's up, y'all? I'm Will Packer.
Hello, I'm Bishop T.D. Jakes.
What up, Lana Well, and you are watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered. All right, folks. Welcome back to the show. There's so much going on. Folks have been commenting, talking about what's going on. Here is Congresswoman Val Demings sharing her perspective on today's court decision.
Today, the United States Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. This is a disappointing and tragic day. I am mad as hell. And every man and woman that supports America's daughters should be mad as hell. If anybody thinks that this fight stops with this sad decision, they are out of their minds. We are going to continue to fight and fight and fight some more to protect the constitutional rights of women. We refuse to go back to being treated as second-class citizens or as property. So we ask you, every person who believes that women should have the right to make their own decisions, to join us in this fight. Today.
All right, Reese, I'm always looking for Comedy Hour, and I found this right here, Reese. I knew that you would have something to say about this here. Here's Joe Manchin. As a Catholic, I was raised pro-life and will always consider myself pro-life, but I've come to accept that my definition of pro-life may not be someone else's definition of pro-life. I believe that exceptions should be made in instances of rape, incest, and when the life of the mother is in jeopardy. But let me be clear, I support legislation that would codify the rights Roe v. Wade previously protected. Reese, here's the laugher. I am hopeful Democrats and Republicans will come together to put forward a piece of legislation that would do just that. And Reese, he know damn well he couldn't get no 10 damn Republicans to vote on the John Lewis Act and all the rest. Man, go sit your punk ass down, Joe Manchin.
Man, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, Joe Manchin. I'm so tired of his punk ass gaslighting us. This motherfucker support everything under the sun except for the damn filibuster. I'm so sick of these people talking about, well, I support codifying this. Okay, well, abolish your filibuster then. How about that? Abolish the Jim Crow filibuster today. You can do that. Until then, shut the fuck up. You do not support a damn thing. You don't support voting rights. You don't support a woman's right to choose. And right now in West Virginia, they have stopped abortions at the only abortion clinic in the state. So his constituents are some of the most impacted constituents. So it's time to put your money where your mouth is or shut the hell up, because we don't want to hear it anymore. And I'm really sick of all these Democrats that sit up there and they sit on their hands. But then the media regurgitates what they say as though, well, they do support it. No, you don't. No, you don't. Same for cinema. And I have to say, I am disappointed that there haven't been more calls for abolishing the filibuster. I'm not surprised. But what else is it going to take? My God, what else is it going to take? So Joe Manchin, step the fuck aside. Cinema, step the fuck aside. And look, if you're not going to call for the filibuster to be abolished, at least let the American people know. Get us 2 or 3 more seats in the Senate. I know people don't want to hear that shit. I don't even want to hear it. I'm sick of saying it because it's really actually getting disheartening to have to constantly tell people to vote for motherfuckers who ain't really, stepping up to the plate the way they need to be. But it's that or what we're facing times 10. At this point, I'm not even interested in platitudes about democracy, platitudes about institutions and rights and yada. It's about survival right now. It's about humanity. That's what's at stake here, not some notion of the United States or some notion of democracy. It's about being a citizen and a human being with autonomy in this country, point blank, period. Joe Manchin, go to hell.
Representative Shannon and I were just sitting here looking at some tweets of different people, and I came across that of Kristen Cinema. Let me give me a second. One of my iPads just died, so let me put in the other one because again, I was sitting here laughing. As Reese was talking, when she mentioned Cinema, I looked this up, and then of course I just had to laugh when I read it because these folk got jokes. And so let's see what she put out here. Where did I show you these tweets? So let's see here. Here we go. Here are her tweets. Let me cut to them right now. A woman's health care decision should be between her family, and her doctor. Today's decision overturning Roe v. Wade endangers the health and well-being of women in Arizona across America. Then she says, throughout my time in Congress, I've always supported women's access to health care, and I'll continue working with anyone to protect women's ability to make decisions about their futures. That's it.
It is completely laughable what she tweets and what she talks about. But here's the thing. So I am a lowly state representative from Georgia. And even in my own capacity, when we had a bill in 2019 to outlaw abortion, I put my body on the line. I went down to the well and refused to leave and had to be removed by the Speaker of the House as a last-ditch effort trying to make sure that we didn't pass a bill to outlaw abortion. So if that's what I can do as a state representative, you can't tell me that these folks at the federal level can't do more. I have not seen the president make Joe Manchin's life and Kyrsten Sinema's life hell. I've not seen that yet. There are rumblings that there are other senators who don't support abolishing the filibuster. There has not been an all-out effort or even pressure campaign to force Democrats to get rid of the filibuster. I'm sorry, there just has not been. So you can't tell me that you've left it all out on the table. At this point, what we need is for Democratic leadership to get serious about putting pressure on these folks and shine the light on all of them. We want public commitments about who is ready to get rid of the filibuster. And if they are not, make their life hell. I've seen Democratic leadership make the squad's life more hell than they've made some of these people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who are having such a cushy life, hadn't faced any repercussions from stopping our agenda. And they're not the only ones. The second thing that needs to happen is we need to expand the court. Those are things that can be done today. I think voters get the feeling that they don't want to vote, and they get apathetic when they don't see Democrats fighting hard. You know, it's one thing if you fight hard and you leave it all out on the field. My constituents were happy with me. They know that I put my body on the line and risk being arrested. And it's only because of state law that you can't arrest a legislator during active session was the only reason I was not arrested. That's what people expect. That is what they expect. And that is the only way that you can say you've done everything that you could do. I don't think the Democrats have put in the fight that we need to on this. And I'm just going to say that. And this is not the only issue. We've got voting rights. We've got so many things. It really boils down to one thing. If you are serious about advancing your agenda, then you need to wake up and be relentless every single day, just like the Republicans are, because guess what? They don't come back with excuses. They come back with results. And it's time for Democrats to do the same. Long past time.
Gotta laugh here, Michael. This decision is inconsistent with what Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh said in their testimony and their meetings with me, where they both were insistent on the importance of supporting long-standing precedents that the country has relied upon. That's Senator Susan Collins of Maine. Michael, the shorter version, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh lied to my face, and I was dumb enough to believe them.
But not Amy?
And we told her, we said when she voted for them, that they were lying then. Once again, this goes back to Trump in 2016 when he ran. He said he would only nominate Supreme Court justices who would vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. She's a damn fool. And when she's up for re-election, she needs to be voted out of office.
No, but here's the problem, Michael. Michael, here's the problem.
Yeah.
You had a weak-ass Democrat who couldn't beat her in 2020. She won. Doc,
I understand. I understand that.
No, my point. She won a 6-year term. So
I know.
And so more than so. No, the only point I'm making is if we also go back to 2020, you had some weak ass people. Okay, let's just break it down. Okay, the weak Democrat who raised a lot of money lost to her. She lost. The white woman in Iowa who lost to Joni Ernst. What's that dumbass in North Carolina who decided to have an affair during the campaign? Dumbass. Okay, and then he lost all that money they gave to Amy McGrath just to get her ass kicked by McConnell. Charles Booker could have put up a better fight. She raised like 30-40 million. So again, all of those perfect white candidates didn't do a damn thing last time.
Well, Roland, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about voting for perfect white candidates. I'm talking about run better candidates. But we have to understand in those states that you, and also the other thing is you have to, you got to galvanize the African American vote, but you're gonna need more than that to take out a Susan Collins, because you're dealing with a statewide race. So what I'm saying is that when you have people like this, like a Susan Collins, who's stupid, like a Joe Manchin's up for re-election 2024. The politics in West Virginia, which is a red state, and Trump won West Virginia by something like 40 points, if I remember correctly, in 2016 and 2020, is different than Maine. But we have to understand that this comes down to voting and understanding what you're voting for, and understanding that we have to vote these people out of office who keep voting against our own interests. But Larry,
I can't spend my time worrying about Manchin in 24 or Susan Collins in 26 when, if Democrats get off their ass, put the money on the ground, put the boots on the ground right now, Georgia, to ensure Warnock wins, making sure you defend Arizona and Mark Kelly, making sure you defend the seat in Nevada, making sure you defend the seat in New Hampshire, and go hard for Beasley, North Carolina, Barnes in Wisconsin, Fetterman in Pennsylvania, Demings in Florida. You got Booker in Kentucky. You got, of course, you can have Gary Chambers down in Louisiana. Like, literally, if you go register 100,000 black people in Louisiana, you could actually beat that fake corn pond Senator John Kennedy. And so you can look up, Larry, and Democrats could very well have 56-44, 57-43 majority in the Senate. But this slow walk that I'm seeing by the DSCC, and again, they're just playing this nice, wonderful, comfortable game. I'm seeing Democratic candidates, Val Demings' first ad coming out the doors, how she, law enforcement. You got Stacey Abrams, one of her talking about giving cops raises. Look, I get it. I get you got to appeal to a wide variety of people, but I'm just saying that ain't gonna get you turnout to win.
Listen, Roland, it's time for transformational leadership, and you have to think differently. We've been talking about Roe v. Wade and how many decades it took. It could take us decades to dig ourselves out of this situation. And you're right. Democrats for too often, first of all, have taken black folks for granted. They can't slow walk this anymore. This is not a dream. This is a nightmare for millions of Americans. So they need to put the money in communities, particularly black communities, right now. And like you said, we talk about Georgia, Warnock, and Herschel Walker, my home state of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in terms of getting people out to vote, black folks out to vote in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, in the metropolitan area. But the DNC's got to put the money where we need it. And like I said, black folks are going to be worried about not only in terms of Roe v. Wade, but also in terms of issues relating to student debt, right? So there are a lot of issues in terms of the Democratic Party has to get it together, make sure that messaging is together, and when they go speak to members of the black community, give them reason to come out and vote in November. Because if they don't roll it, we're going to find ourselves in a much more dire situation than we are now. And I know for a lot of Americans, it seems bleak, right? But it can get a lot worse. And we won't be talking about 2022. It'll be more like 1822. Sure. If we don't get it together, galvanize the vote, and get folks out, and make sure people their voting rights are not being infringed on.
Hey, Shireen, again, here's what I'm looking at. You might have anywhere from 300 to 400,000 black people in Louisiana next week for Essence Festival. We'll be there on Monday. I'm just saying, if you the Dems, your ass should say to your candidates, we rolling them through there. And again, you ain't got to get invited. Put on your own event. If you Tim Ryan, you should be all over the Cincinnati Music Festival that's happening in 3 weeks. I've already asked him, you doing something there? What up? See, again, I don't know what these folks are doing, but you are in a fight. Biden kept saying 2020, this is a battle for the soul of America. No, player, these folks want to rule us for 50, 100 years. And if you allow them to lock in power, you can't get out of that. And I'm telling you, I'm just sitting here going, man, what y'all gonna do?
No, honestly, at the end of the day, these 2 months, May and June were the top, months for primaries. They should have been out in droves in so many other different ways as well. At the end of the day, their inactions is speaking louder than their actions, and I think that that's really important, and that's what voters are paying attention to. But I also want to point out that Susan Collins' statement does not include Amy. So did Amy lie to her, and she knew? Like, let's interrogate that. But also, I want to also make sure that we don't miss the fact that people like Manchin are Dixiecrats, and we still have Dixiecrats in this Democratic Party, and we need to address that part too. We need to hold everyone's feet to the fire, but we also need to make sure that, like, we're in the middle of primaries right now. We just had Virginia's on Tuesday in this area. I'm not seeing Democrats making any of these statements any louder than any other time before. It's like business as usual, while the most horrific things are happening from SCOTUS.
Representative Shannon, again, okay, so you're elected official. Are you seeing the sense of urgency? I'm not. I'm telling you right now, and let me be clear. I can roll through the number of candidates we've had difficulties trying to get on the show. I can tell you for a fact at the DSCCC won't even respond to my advertising people. They've emailed twice. I've emailed. No response. So I'm telling you right now, as somebody who hit the ground for Ossoff and Warnock, I damn near moved to Georgia for 5 weeks during the runoff. I do not see a sense of urgency from the Democratic Party.
So to your point about invitations that have been sent out that aren't returned, we still have the problem that within Democratic leadership, there's still a lot of being allergic to Black. Black voters are the majority of this party. So the party should be supporting Black candidates because Black candidates will talk about Black issues a lot of the times. And so, we still have the problem that Democrats are more worried about what Republicans will think of them. Are they being respectable in the way that they fight? Can I tell you, when I refused to leave the well, the only people who were mad at me after that were Democrats. I got nothing but complaints from colleagues saying you broke the rules. Meanwhile, Republicans were coming up to me saying, I don't agree with your views, but I wish we had a fight on our side.
Oh my God, Representative Shannon, you broke the rules. They were trying to break democracy.
They are still mad that I broke the rules. That's the biggest thing you saw.
Some bullshit rules.
Right. Women's bodily autonomy. And you're upset that I realized that these people were radical and I put my body on the line. That's what you're upset about. So that is the problem. They are still beholden to respectability politics and thinking that their relationships with Republicans and prioritizing bipartisanship will save the day. It will not. These people are radical. They are playing to win, and they want to control us. And that is it.
Reese, you would think these folks are watching the January 6th hearings and realize how far they're willing to go. But here's what's so crazy. Earlier today, I came across this thread that somebody broke down where John Eastman, Trump's, the guy behind it, he literally was making the same argument to the GOP in 2000. Homeboy been dealing with this for 20 years. I keep trying to explain to folk, to Representative Shannon's point, they want to keep sitting here. There are rules, there are ways we do these things. Your opposition does not care about rules. They care about power.
That's it. Period. Fuck the rules. Fuck the rules. When you're in power, you get to make the rules. That's what the Supreme Court is saying, right? We got the power. We got the votes, the rules, or whatever the fuck we say the rules are. We don't give a damn about precedent. We don't give a damn about what we lied and told y'all. Oh, we're going to respect precedent. Oh, the Supreme Court, it's important. They said, oh, kiss my ass. Now we got the power. You can't do shit, bitches. That's why we're going to sit up here and we're going to rip it all up. So what the Democrats should do, and again, let me start by saying Republicans ain't shit. We understand that. But as far as the Democrats, you got the power. What you gonna do with it? Chuck Schumer. I don't know how Chuck Schumer gets a free pass. To me, he's the weakest majority leader I can recall seeing. Okay, at least Harry Reid said, you know what, we're gonna get rid of the damn filibuster.
No. Harry Reid was gangster. No,
yeah,
Harry Reid was gangster.
He said, okay, how about this? We're going to change the rules on your ass. And that's what Chuck Schumer's going to need to be doing. Y'all got some files on somebody. If y'all can send a damn FBI agent down and fuck with Andrew Gillum, the Tallahassee mayor, and have a conversation with him about a damn play in Hamilton or be on these little yachts, you can't tell me these white men are not sitting up here congregating, plotting on some shit, doing some foul stuff. Pull out the files on them. Play dirty. That's what we want to see from you. And I know I'm saying that, and I know I'm delusional even saying that, because that ain't the kind of folks that we dealing with. But damn it, if you want to save any semblance of what we have going on, somebody got to bring out the big guns. I don't know who it is. I don't know how, but somebody got to do it, because we're not seeing the needle move anywhere. We're not seeing Stacey Abrams move up in the polling in Georgia. We're not seeing anybody make any room on DeSantis. We're not seeing even Bates. Oh, he's moved up, but he's still 5 points behind Abbott and damn Texas. Okay, so as long as the needle's not moving, as long as gas prices are high as shit, as long as eggs, bacon, beef, chicken, shit, Chipotle, McDonald's is high as shit, somebody got to do something, okay, to get people out of their seats. It should be automatic. This should shake your conscience, but it ain't happening. So what you gonna do? Because I done got 18 different goddamn fundraising emails today from the Democrats. I need a plan. What's gonna happen with the damn filibuster? How many votes do we need in the Senate? What kind of lawsuits are y'all filing? The Supreme Court is not a legitimate institution that they're gonna be against damn humanity and citizenship of women in this country. So fuck them. That's what I need to hear from the Democratic Party. Now, can you chip in $5? Can you chip in $10? No, tell me what the hell you're gonna do right now, because I'm sick of it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna go to a break here, but if I get one more damn, hey Roland, this is Nancy Pelosi, and I'm like, oh, is she accepting my invitation to come on the show?
Hello.
Oh no, it's another fundraising appeal.
Right.
I'm like, that's all I keep getting. I'm gonna go to a break. We come back. We're gonna keep talking about the what's next. And y'all, and look, I know we're gonna get blocked. So Keenan, go ahead and get ready to remove these videos after I play them. I know they're gonna block us in we use somebody else's content. But there are 3 sound bites from my man Papa Pope on Scandal I put on social media that I personally think applies to this whole conversation we've been having. I'm gonna play those next. I can't wait to get the reaction from our panel. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Download the app. Every available platform, of course, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung TV, also Xbox One. Also, if y'all want to support the show, I really appreciate your support. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do, travel around the country. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Love our new Alexa.
It's a Buick.
Yeah, Alexa.
Buick.
Alexa.
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa. It's a Buick. It's an Alexa. Coach, that's a Buick. That's an Alexa.
The Buick Enclave with available Alexa built-in.
Verizon just gave us all a brand new iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years. We got iPhone 13s too. Switched 2 minutes ago, literally right before this.
iPhone 13 on us on any unlimited plan for every customer, with plans starting at just $35. All on the network more people rely on.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
My name is Charlie Wilson.
Hi, I'm Sally Richardson Whitfield.
And I'm Dante Whitfield. Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. So, as we were talking about, we were just talking about in terms of how a lot of these DMs are responding. I could not help but think about scandal, Papa Pope. We had a conversation with Olivia Pope, and I do think this probably accurately describes how Democrats are responding to the thuggish gangster nature of the Republican counterparts. Watch this.
No, you have no idea what happened. You have no idea what is currently happening. You're skipping around in a field full of bombs and mistaking them for daisies.
I mean, again, for me, Michael, that's it. You think bombs are dropping and y'all think y'all in the field of daisies.
Well, yeah, once again, Roland, this is long-range planning. This goes back to the Paul Wayrick and the Heritage Foundation. This goes back to this fight for 50 years. And this deals with, for decades, federal judges and Supreme Court judges have not been that important when it came to Democrats voting. They would vote for president, but for Republicans, they had a better understanding of why you needed the Supreme Court, control of the Supreme Court, and why you needed the federal bench. Okay, and we saw that really culminate in 2016, but even before then, when you go to the 2014 midterm elections and Republicans taking back control of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, this set up the ability to be able to block 103 federal bench nominations by President Obama. Okay, and then they blocked Merrick Garland as well. So, you know, we have to, one of the first things that we need to do is really read the U.S. Constitution and also understand the importance of the three branches of the federal government, not just the one, the executive branch, the three branches of the federal government, because the judicial branch, the courts, they interpret law from the legislative branch. So they can strike down the law from the legislative branch. So we have to really play this at the grandmaster chess level and understand the importance of the three branches. So, you know, this needs to be a wake-up call for us. And lastly, Roland, for African Americans, we have to have an internal political infrastructure that politically educates our people and galvanizes our people, regardless of what a political party does. We have to have something internal.
That's why I keep saying we need return to freedom schools. Representative Shannon, Ellie Mistel has often talked about that. Look, what President Biden should do is say, in those red states, we're going to provide reproductive services for women on federal property. And so he said, look, be aggressive with it. Again, I was thinking about this notion of power, how you use it. I was thinking about how Donald Trump didn't give a damn about rules and procedures in terms of how these folks operated with power. Papa Pope spoke to this issue too.
You can either stand there like a 12-year-old and lecture me about morality, or even worse, rat us out in the name of justice, or you can take your cue from us and get yourself some power, real power. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue power. You think you have that now, but you're standing on the sidelines screaming at the referee like a sad, drunk parent at a high school football game.
Just saying.
Yeah, but you know what? The other point that we need to realize is that it's not just that Republicans have understood the power of judges for so long. They do this with everything. They understand the power of having power.
Because in the end, they don't care what happens to us.
They are going after school board seats and treating them like congressional seats.
No, you have no idea.
To school board seats because they are launching this war about parents' rights. And so with them, it's just kind of like a moving target. They figure out what they want to do, and then they go after what seat, what power will allow them to do it. So, I mean, that's really just the way the Democrats have got to start thinking. And most importantly, the public has got to elect people who are about it. Stop electing these people who lead with, well, I'm going to figure out a bipartisan way to reach across the aisle. You can't hold hands with somebody who's trying to oppress you. You cannot.
No, you can't
trying to oppress you, trying to kill you.
No, you can't hold hands with nobody who's trying to chop your damn arm off.
Exactly.
You can't hold hands with nobody like that. And that point right there, Larry, I think this last bite here, and again, I know they're gonna block us, so Keenan, you're gonna go ahead and edit these bites out. But this is for all the black people who also want to play this go along to get along game.
Because in the end, they don't care what happens to us. You think because they pet you on the head and tell you that you're smart and pretty, that you matter to them? You are in the light so that they can stay in the dark.
Papa Poke can teach some folks, Larry.
Dropping some knowledge with these clips, Roland. So let me say something. First of all, you can't negotiate with people who don't see your humanity. That's first of all. Second of all, the Republicans are acting like political gangsters. They go up to the Democrats, tapping their pockets for change, taking the keys from the car and driving away. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? So if you want to change what's happening in this country, you got to be willing to take the power, but you got to be willing to fight it. So you got to be willing to take some karate classes and fight the bully, come back the next day and fight the bully. But you can't sit around and send, like we talked about, sending out emails asking for $2, $5, $10 or whatever. It is time to fight. And we need some, like I said earlier, some transformational leaders to start swinging, throwing some haymakers, because otherwise you might as well sit on the sideline.
I often use this
Teamwork.
example,
it's just a value that I've always carried. I see that every day I
my
go to work.
speeches. And let me say this, because I already know it's going to be some fool who's going to be like, oh my goodness, Roland Martin's calling for violence. No, I'm not. And so I'm not calling for any of that. But the sentiment that Sean Connery expresses to Kevin Costner in The Untouchables is one that I'm always talking about. When you are engaged in a battle, what are you prepared to do?
You said you wanted to know how to get Capone. Do you really want to get him? You see what I'm saying? What are you prepared to do? Everything within the law. And then what are you prepared to do? If you open the ball on these people, Mr. Nash, you must be prepared to go all the way. Because they won't give up the fight until one of you is dead. I want to get Capone. I don't know how to get him. Want to get Capone? Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago.
Shireen, right there. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, again, I'm not saying folks get violent, do stuff along those lines. What I'm talking about is, are folks prepared? What are you prepared to do battle? What are you prepared to do to win? What are you prepared to do to organize, to mobilize, to register people to vote, to drive them to the polls? That's what it boils down to. What are you prepared to do? I ain't say tweet. I ain't say post on Instagram. I ain't say make TikTok videos. I'm talking about that hardcore work of political work, going precinct, door to door, knocking on those doors, knocking 3 and 4 and 5 times, saying, you're going to vote, you're going to vote, you're going to vote, you're going to vote, and need a riot, we're going to be back. All of those different things, that has to happen.
And that has to happen not just for the presidency, right? That has to happen also specifically for the school board. When you see these parents showing up and acting irate at the school board, make sure there's someone there to counter that response. Make sure that every one of those responses has another response, not the whole let's go out and wine and dine and then debate about what's happening on the school board level. Have our children show up. Have those parents that are willing to push back show up, because that's not about the legal system. That's about people actively showing up and letting them know that we're there and we're not going anywhere, and making sure in those moments that everybody understands that from school board, state legislature, secretary of state, and everything in between is about protecting us. Remember, what Alito just did is said we can go back to antebellum, where slavery was being slavery was legal, to actually use the law of anti-abortion. Why? Because in that point we were property. We have to understand that there are people in this country that wants us to go back to being property. We need to be able to hear that and respond to that and understand that even the concept that gun laws or a gun is more important than what's inside my body. The gun ain't attached to your body, y'all. It's attached to your hand, maybe, but not your body. And the fact that we're not, and people are not understanding what's being granted autonomy and what isn't, your individual rights are being infringed upon. And they're saying it's justified because in 1825, when that first anti-abortion law existed, we were property. We weren't just property of men, we were property of women. Like, let's understand how far back these people are reaching and how much we have lost over that time and how much we still need to be fighting. We should not be getting comfortable about whatever's moving forward at this point. We need to be fighting hard. And please remember, literally, almost every one of those anti-abortion laws happened before women even had the right to vote. Only one happened in 1950. And at that point, we were still being lynched. Let's make sure that we're listening to what is being said in every one of these different laws that are being passed, every one of these opinions. That includes the state level, because the most important part that impacts you is what the states decide to do. And states' rights still means that there are people out there who think we should still be slaves.
Indeed. Let me thank Shireen Mitchell, Dr. Larry J. Walker, Michael Imhotep, Reese Colbert, Representative Renita Shannon for joining me on today's show. Thank you very much. Folks, I'm going to this final break. When we come back, I'll offer up my final thoughts on, yes, this historic day where the United States Supreme Court issued their decision overturning a nearly 50-year precedent and validating Roe v. Wade, and it is no longer the law of the land. I will offer my thoughts when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
How about sushi?
I just had sushi for lunch yesterday.
How about tacos?
Automatic emergency braking, one of 6 advanced safety features standard on every 2022 Chevy Equinox. Find new technology. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
iPhone 13 on us for every customer. Current, new, everyone. To show the love.
Of course, I looked up to Spike Lee. Of course, who didn't? I mean, he's a genius. But then also, I was this kid from Brooklyn,
right?
That felt like, you know,
give me my damn respect.
I made this, this creative art, right, that people are responding to. And it would have been great if we had the opportunity to sit one-on-one.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Spike.
What's up, baby?
So I'm in LA right now. I got a one-on-one series with my network, Black Star Network. And I'm interviewing Maddie Rich.
I appreciate that, bro. That's a big moment, man. That was like, man, that was good. Got me all choked up. That's good.
Well, I'm all about connecting.
Appreciate that, bro.
I'm Dion Cole, and you're watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Earlier today, Eric Erickson issued this tweet here. Eric is a white evangelical conservative out of Georgia, used to be redstate.com. We, of course, were counterparts on CNN. He posted this. He said, "And now the real work of the pro-life movement can begin." My response was, y'all are not pro-life, Eric Erickson. Your movement is anti-abortion. The GOP doesn't give a shit about the high death rates Black women face during pregnancy. As I told Ben Watson for his doc, y'all don't care about infant mortality rates or unarmed Black folks shot by cops. I meant every single word of that. And my man Ben actually responded to that. And Ben Watson is a former NFL player. He is pro-life. He did a documentary on this issue. He actually interviewed me for that documentary. And I just want to play y'all a clip from that.
So it's very interesting how narrowly defined the abortion debate becomes, because I keep saying, well, is it actually about that baby in the womb, or is it really about life? And I think too often they want to limit it to just that 9-month period, or that period in the first trimester when most abortions take place, as opposed to, but let's deal with the life of the mother and what is her life like. And see, now it forces people to have different conversations, because now you have to have different outlook, different priorities.
Folks, that really is the issue that we're now looking at. The conservatives, Republicans, they say that they are pro-life, but they're not. When you see marches and protests in America dealing with the murder of unarmed black men, you do not see Republicans and conservatives joining liberals and Democrats condemning these things. You don't see it. Or you might see some words of remorse, but you don't see it. You don't see them speaking out when a black man is released from prison. Dante Sharp serving more than 20 years, I think it was 27 years he was in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Is that pro-life? Why is it that we haven't heard these same Republicans, conservatives weighing in and giving us their thoughts and perspectives on black women having difficulty having children, looking at these birth rates, looking at the issues they're facing? But y'all are pro-life. Well, the Affordable Care Act was passed, and billions of dollars were provided to states to expand Medicaid. Republican lawmakers rejected that money. And we saw rural hospitals, the same rural areas that Mitch McConnell says they now rule. We saw those rural hospitals shut down. The first person in North Carolina to die was a white woman in rural North Carolina who had an emergency. The hospital shut down, and they had to take her to a hospital that was some 40 or 60 miles away. It was Reverend Barber who told me that it was a white man in North Carolina who came up to him at a parade. And he walked up to him, and he had a Confederate flag draped around his neck. And he had tears in his eyes, and he says, I got to thank you, Dr. Barber, for fighting for our hospitals. Is that pro-life? Had a black pastor in Omaha, Nebraska tell me that some white evangelicals came to him years ago and wanted him to stand with them against abortion. And he said, I'm willing to stand with you because I am against abortion. He said, but I need y'all to come with me to take down these crack houses and deal with people who are being ravaged by drugs. And they replied, Pastor, that's your issue. That's your issue. These same folks fight money for Head Start. These same folks voted against the free lunch program. These same people wanted to cut SNAP benefits. These same people don't want to support prenatal care. So how can you today relish this Supreme Court decision? I've often said this, and comedian George Carlin said this. He said, oh, they concerned when it's in the womb, but don't give a damn about the baby when it's in preschool. Folks, what we have to understand, and again, let me be clear, there are Black people out there who do not believe in abortion. There are Black people out there who believe about in terms of that child. And I understand that. But I don't care what somebody says. You gonna support a woman who is raped? You gonna support your wife being raped? Your niece being raped? Your sister being raped? Your mother being raped? Your cousin being raped? And the state telling them they must carry their child? That woman can't even take the day after pill? You got Republicans right now, y'all, trying to ban that pill. A woman who was raped? Are you meaning to tell me that there's a 10 or an 11 or 12-year-old child who has been raped and sexually assaulted by a relative, that child must carry that baby born out of incest? Folks, you need to understand that today's Republican Party, today's conservative movement, there is no compassion in this movement. There is no concern about the well-being of all Americans. What we are looking at people who want to exact revenge on this nation and what they call liberal policies and liberal laws that have been passed. I dare call them laws of humanity. This is not just about Roe v. Wade. It's not just about the gun decision of the law in New York State. It's not just about Miranda. What this is about are individuals who are seeing that their power is waning. You are seeing individuals who are scared to death of the future browning of America. And they want to make sure that as the nation changes demographically, and those folks then begin to assume power, that they are going to be placed in a straitjacket with handcuffs, duct tape, and unable to do anything because they will have already changed the rules, changed the law. So what must you do? You can't just hit the like button and the like button on YouTube, which you should be doing right now. You can't just post your outrage on Facebook. You can't just say, I can't believe what they're doing to us on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat and Fanbase and LinkedIn and Tumblr and all the platforms. What you must be doing right now is making a decision that you are going to become a far more active participant in this thing we call the republic, you are going to have to ensure that this so-called democracy stays one. You are going to have to ensure, you are going to have to ensure that you are willing to stand up and do what the previous generation did. And that is, as Dr. King said, make the country be true to what you put on paper. Brothers and sisters, we must understand you are being called to the battlefield. You are being drafted in this war. And what you cannot do is say that I'm going to allow somebody else to do the battle, because it's not just about your body and your choice. It literally is about the future of this country, because they are not going to stop where they are. They are going to continue over, and they're going to continue pushing, continue changing the law, continuing to do these things. And the only way it can be stopped is when we use the power of the ballot box. That's why I decided whether they vote like your ancestors died for it. This generation is being called to account. We're being called to stand up. We're being called to lead. The question is, are you willing to lead? Are you willing to stand up? Are you willing to fight? Are you willing to engage? First thing you do right now. The first thing you do right now. And I see somebody sat here and said, Mr. Martin, this monologue isn't going to work, but I respect your positions. No, Robert, every day you're wrong. Oh, I know you're wrong. Because there's somebody who's watching this, Robert, that you don't quite understand, Robert. I'm not only talking to more than 2,300 on YouTube right now and several hundred on Facebook and also on the Black Star Network, because the reality is this is going to be seen on every single platform to all 3.7 million of my followers. What I'm calling on you to do is, first and foremost, make sure that you are registered. Then I want each of you to take it upon yourself to say you're going to go help 10 other people you know to get registered. And then you're going to ask those 10 to go get 10. So therefore, you will get 10. So that's 10. Your 10 then will impact 100. Then you're going to ask those 100 to actually get 10 themselves. And now that's 1,000. But see, I need you to start with the first 10. You can't get to the 1,000 unless you start with the 10 yourself. And you know who they are. They go to your church, they're in your fraternity, in your sorority, they're in your men's groups, your women's group, they're in your Bible study, they go to your school, they work with you. Yeah, I'm just asking you to open your mouth. I'm just asking you to actually do something. Don't say it's Reverend Barber's job, Latasha Brown's job, or Cliff Albright's job. See, that sounds like the folk who say, man, I sure wish, Pastor, I sure wish my coworker could have heard your sermon. Why didn't you invite your coworker to church? Better yet, why didn't you get a copy of the sermon and bring it to your coworker so they can listen to it or watch it and then bring them next Sunday? Why didn't you even volunteer to come pick your coworker up from home to bring them to church with you? If you are outraged by the direction of this country, if you are outraged by what you are seeing, if you are outraged by Republicans refusing to support the policies that matter to us, then what are you willing to do? I'm willing to do like my frat brother Vertner Woodson Tandy said, when he said, we will fight until hell freezes over, and then we will fight on the ice. The operative word is fight. Because when you fight, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And I'll be damned if I'm not going to be the last one standing. Folks, that's it for us. Again, we were supposed to be off today. I gave my staff off, but when the Supreme Court decision came down, we decided not to go into the office, but we did this via StreamYard. Thank Keenan White for putting this all together. I think the staff will also work on this today. Folks, I will see you on Monday from New Orleans, where we will be there for Essence Festival. We'll continue to cover this story and many others. I appreciate all of you who are watching. Folks, hit that like button on YouTube, hit that like and share button on Facebook. I want you to share this with your friends. Spread this around. We should have 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 or 500,000 views of this video. This is our moment. We must be ready to fight. Holla!